I've already spent too much time on this, and I want to get to all the other news and take your calls. But America is becoming a military dictatorship. The worship of the military is everywhere. Not the worship of the troops, which is still dangerous, but wrapping the tyranny in the uniform of our military. Telling us that Iran is becoming a military dictatorship. Well, you know, the system knows we're waking up here and putting a military dictatorship in place. And yes, Iran's a military dictatorship. What do you think the U.S. is becoming? What do you think the U.S. puts in every time it takes over a country is a military dictatorship? What do you think they want here? This isn't our government. Let me say this. For the sake of argument, go ahead and believe that men in a cave launched the attacks and made NORAD stand down, and 9/11 and Iraq had WMDs and all this. You know Homeland Security from their own internal documents is set up for the American people. You know you're the target, regardless. We now know the government, the FBI, got the underwear bomber on the plane on Christmas Day and protected him like the witnesses said day one. They admit they did. There's seamless integration between the Republicans and the Democrats on these issues. This is the national security shadow government state. There's no more time for denial. But here's Glenn Beck at the end of this big rant. The number one threat's 9/11 truth. They're going to try to kill Obama. Here it is.
Access to the President of the United States, the guy who has always been evil. You think now that he was on your side, but now if he goes soft, he's joined the cabal that is capable of murdering people. He promised you a revolution. Do you think it's safe to have an individual like that around the President of the United States? Are you comfortable with that? Well, let me tell you something. You might think this is crazy. All that stuff would never happen. Let me show you what was said on left-wing radio today. Thanks to newsbusters.org, they just posted this. You crazy blank, you right-wingers, do you not understand that the people you hold up as heroes bombed your expletive country? Do you not understand that Glenn Beck, Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh, and Bill O'Reilly are as complicit of the September 11th, 2001 terrorist attack as any one of those expletive 15 who came from Saudi Arabia? Don't you get that? As a guy,
that's enough.
I'll tell you someday. As a guy,
that's enough. Oh, well, he's getting threatened. He just supports all these wars killing millions of people. You know, the Dallas Morning News had an article on Sunday titled, "Perry Supporters Caught Posting Fake Pro-Medina Comments on Dallas Morning News." Of course they go out and post fake comments. Dallas Morning News found it was the same IP addresses of people then supporting Perry. I mean, they can put out a fake text on the internet and say it's bin Laden. They do it every week. It's just so sick how these deceivers operate. You have been warned, ladies and gentlemen. You have been warned. And in every case, when we're about to get a Ron Paul or a Deborah Medina, Glenn Beck is there to try to shoot them down. To say that the Army needs to be used against Ron Paul supporters in 2007, that they may want to blow things up. Remember that? They want to bomb things. No evidence. You can pull the video clips up. They may want to bomb things. Because that's what these guys do. They accuse their enemies of planning to kill people. They accuse their enemies of being terrorists. And so accuse Ron Paul of it. Accuse 9/11 Truth of it. Just do whatever you want when it's really your bosses staging the terror attacks. And saying, we got to register these 9/11 Truth members. The lowest polls, 36% of America believes it's an inside job. That's a 5-year-old poll. I see them all the time. Scientific polls, Angus and Reid, New York Times, 84%. 6 of the 10 9/11 commissioners. This isn't going away, even if you try to stage an assassination of your little puppet, Obama. We're not going to shut up. The truth is growing and growing. You've lost all credibility. No one believes anything you say. The few idiots that still buy it are starting to wake up. All right, let's go to your phone calls here. I appreciate people holding. I'm going to move quickly through your calls, so please have your point ready. Then I've got all this other news. Obama making plans to use executive power to circumvent states. Same thing Bush was doing, but expanding it. Same thing the neocons push for in their doctrine, saying the president's God. You understand what's happening here? These guys are all puppets. It's so elementary. Chris in California, you're on the air. Go ahead, Chris. All right, Chris is gone. He's the guy that disagrees. Let's go to George in Connecticut. George, you're on the air. Yeah, these callers have been on hold for an hour. Just hang up on the entire list of callers. They can call back in. 800-259-9231. Just hang them all up. Folks, you can hold if you want. We leave the phone lines open, but you got to be there when we go to you. 800-259-9231. What do you think of the last hour and a half breakdown I did of just 5 minutes from Glenn Beck? And it's all just as bad. Every form of propaganda and deception and manipulation combined. 800-259-9231. And then I've got all this other just off-the-charts important news. Collapse of the euro is inevitable. Bailing out the Greek economy futile, says French banking chief. And the Spanish government is looking into this being staged. It's been all over the news for 3 months that big banks were going to try to bankrupt Greece, Spain, Portugal, and several other European nations. They're looting them, just like they tried to bankrupt us in 2008, did a pretty good job. And then they get the bailout money and buy everything up for pennies on the dollar. And I told you years ago, the plan is to have currency wars between the dollar and between the euro, and then say, oh, this has been too horrible after 5 years of this. We've got to have a global standardization, and now the G20 is calling for that. They had a secret meeting last week, that was mainstream news in Australia, of banks, 24 central banks, meeting in secret to chart the future of the world, to rig everything with their insider trading. Taylor in Iowa, you're on the air.
Alex.
Welcome.
Yeah, I called about almost a month ago, and I talked about how I was going to hand out swine flu vaccine flyers in my school. So I made flyers, and I got one other person to help me out. So we handed it out the week of the clinic, and the clinic was on Friday, and we handed it out about 60 flyers. So we had some altercations when people read one fact, threw it away, or just gave it back to me and said it was BS. And like,
well, at least you tried to warn them. Just like we warned people Gardasil vaccine was killing people in the trials. Now it's known and hardly anybody's taking it. It takes time. But did the school try to restrict your free speech?
No, they didn't at all.
Good.
Yeah, I was actually surprised by that because my school is actually really, really close-minded. I mean, I live in Iowa, and it's one of the most conservative states in the country. And I think that my school is really, really close-minded. Like I tell them how Obama is calling for martial law and that there's FEMA camps. And they're like, oh, no, our country wouldn't do that. We have such a great country. Our government's protecting us and all that. I mean, it's all propaganda. I mean, they had stickers coming out that basically just said, ooh, I'm so cool. I got my flu shot. And it's just all propaganda.
That's right. They use fads. Taylor, good job. Keep it up. Don't stop. Let's go to Heather in Indiana. You're on the air.
Hi, how are you? We are Prison Planet TV members. We support you. We watch your videos. We show everybody that we can. We liked seeing you on Conspiracy Theory with Jesse Ventura. It was great. We've been listening to you the whole time, and everything that you've been saying about Glenn Beck, yeah, we totally agree with you. We're not Glenn Beck fans at all. Have a couple of family members who were, and then started showing them some of your movies and your iPodcasts that they download and things like that, and now they're beginning to wake up as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, the reason that I'm calling, though, is I'm not trying to steer you away from what you've been talking about, but we have 4 small children, and I have become adamant about wanting to take them out of public school and homeschool them. There's a whole bunch of cutbacks going on. They're going to be enlarging classroom sizes. They can't have the lights on at school. They're taking away art. They're taking away music.
Now, let me stop you. This is the oldest trick. Don't fill the potholes. Don't put new radios in the police cars. The taxes go up and up and up, but everything goes to interest to the bankers. All these new taxes, but, oh, you can't have the lights on. Oh, you know, austerity. It's for the environment. Absolutely. Look, we homeschool our children. If you can do it, even if it means a lifestyle cutback, because only one of you can work, it is the best thing to do, or put them in a small Christian school.